at Sheni. It's first chapter, Pasuk Chof. So we're speaking about all the males were counted from the age of 20 and above by name, individually. Vayuvnei Ruvain B'chor Yisrael Toldosam L'mishpachosam V'esavosam. The children of Ruvain, the tribe of Ruvain, B'chor Yisrael. So it's interesting that even though Ruvain was disenfranchised due to what he had done without consulting with his father, he had lost the birthright to a degree. Initially, he would have been the Kohen. He would have had royalty, but because he had taken the bed of Yaakov out of the tent of Bilhah, and he put it into the tent of his mother after Rachel passed away, Yaakov referred to him as Pachas Kamayim. You do things impulsively, and therefore, as a result of that, you forfeited the birthright. You will not be the Kohen, you will not be the king. Royalty is not yours. The kuna was given to Levi, the priesthood, and the royalty was given to Yehuda. But nevertheless, he retains the identity as Bechor. He's the firstborn. Toldosam Lipshachosam, their progeny according to their families, Vesavosam, according to the paternal line, Mispa Shemos, again, making the point, the number of the names. And I mentioned yesterday, Sefarnu points out that when they were counted before they went into Canaan, they were not counted by name. They were only counted by number. The name didn't have that degree of significance. Now the name still has significance. Of course, in terms of the name usually reveals the essence and the dimension of the person. And now these people left Egypt. These people are the ones who stood at Sinai. They are that multi-dimensional people. Therefore, the name, they're mentioned by name to identify who they are. This generation passes away over this 40-year period. The new generation do not have the same capacity or dimension of spirituality. Therefore, they're only mentioned by number, not by name. That was the Sefarna, what he pointed out. So, but over here it's Lemispar Shemos, according to the number of the names. Those who were 20 and above, those who were eligible for conscription. Pekudeim, Lemate Ruvain, the counting of the tribe of Ruvain, Shisha v'arboim elef v'chamesh meos, 46,500. Livnei Shimon, Toldosam, same thing. And just going fast forwarding the 23. Pekudeim Mati Shimon, Tisha v'chamishim elef u'shlosh meos, 59,300. Then B'nai Gad, we count them. They're 45,650. That was one group. So we're going Ruvain, Shimon, Gad. It's not according to their birth, but this because this is going to be the formation. We have 4 camps as they traveled in the desert. Livnei Yehuda, the children of Yehuda, again, 47,000. So we have Yehuda, Yisachar, and Zvulun. I just want to identify what is their profile. Yehuda is leadership. Yehuda is kingship. Yisachar is the ultimate level of Torah. Right? We find that Yaakov had given a blessing to Yisachar. Yisochi Charam Gorim. He's the large-boned donkey who's able to assume tremendous amount of burden, which is we're speaking about, carries the burden of Torah. He's the one who has no level of distraction. Zvulun partners with Yisachar. He assumes full material responsibility for Yisachar. That Yisachar should not be distracted as much as Nayota. He fully provided, and the one who made this relationship, this partnership, was Yaakov. So I had pointed out that the level of commitment. A person can make a commitment, but unless you truly appreciate and esteem and value something, that commitment is fulfilled at many levels. We find in the words of Chazal that what was the level of commitment, financial commitment of Yizvulun to Yisachar? The words of the Midrash, Hayusomim ochel b'piyim shel Yisachar. They'd actually put the food in the mouths of Yisachar, meaning Yisachar never had to ask for anything. Whatever material was needed, was their clothing, their food, any need that they had, any amenity that was necessary, it was provided without even asking for it. That was the level of commitment, and to what degree they valued Yisachar's focus to be able to excel to the maximum, that they did not want them to be distracted as much as an iota. The only one who was able to make that evaluation of Zvulun versus the other tribes, there was only Yaakov. We find that when Yaakov blessed his children before he passed away, he understood the spiritual makeup every one of the tribes. Although all 12 tribes in conjunction are the Jewish people, each tribe itself had a certain spiritual identity and had a spiritual objective to be able to contribute to the totality of the Jewish people. And each tribe was unique in its own right. And we'll see in a moment. The camp that traveled in the desert, the formation, Ruvain, Shimon, Gad, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun. The connection between every one of them, spiritually speaking, they formed that was one entity. Although they in each one's own identity, they were unique, but there was some kind of relationship, spiritually speaking, connection, that they represent one entity. And we find when they traveled in the desert, there were 4 such entities. These were the 4 camps that traveled in unison over the 40-year period. And the middle camp was the Machne Shechina. That was the camp of God. That was the Mishkan. It was in the center. I always mention, they made a Maral, that what is the significance of the number 5? The Maral always speaks about the significance of numbers. So he explains that the number 4 always connotes lack of cohesiveness. If you have 4 things in 4 different corners, each one has no relevance to the other. That's one connotation of 4. Another is that if a person is boxed in on all 4 sides, it represents total confrontation, total opposition. And therefore you find by Avram Avinu, the first time 4 is mentioned, Avram Avinu espoused monotheism. The 4 mightiest kings of the world, they took Lot captive to bait Avram that he should go into battle to save his nephew and he would be killed. That was their intention. But little did they know that Avram was going to be the victor because God was his backer. But it was 4 versus the 1. Why? Because 4 represents total opposition. Yeah, you're surrounded on 3 sides. You have the 4th side as the route of escape. You're surrounded on all 4 sides. It's total opposition. 4 always represents total opposition. Avram was totally opposed by the world. The 4 exiles are also totally opposed to the existence of the Jewish people. We're meant to be in Egypt 400 years. 400 connotes, again, total opposition. Total opposition. 5 represents unity and cohesiveness. Why? Because if you have 4 things in 4 corners and you put something in the middle, in the center, the 5th point brings everything together. That unifies everything. The 5th is always the unification. So he explains to Maral that we find, for instance, Chamisha Chumshi Torah, the 5 books, means that's one entity. 5 always represents one entity. And all the entities function with one another. Now, we have 4 camps that traveled in the desert. Each camp was comprised of 3 tribes. All these tribes, although they were 4 camps, They comprise the Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. These were the 12 tribes. Now, what was the middle camp? Four, one has no relevance to the other. But if you have something in the center, what brought it all together? What unified the four? The Machne Shechina. That because they all were connected to the center, to Hashem, and this is the Hashem Echad, that's what unified them. Therefore, they were Goy Echad. They were one nation, unified, due to their connection to Hashem as Echad. So the fifth camp was the center camp, which brought them all together. We find that Yaakov Avinu had 4 wives. But what gave them value? What unified them? Who was the fifth? Yaakov was the husband. He was the third patriarch. He fathered children from all 4 of them. So that's the 4. They would have no value without the fifth, without Yaakov. What gave them value was Yaakov was their husband, and he fathered the children from these 4 women. That's 5. That's their. So I had said something interesting, and I asked it as a question. We know the Shem Hashem is Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's a 4-letter name. So according to the Maharal, if 4 represents lack of cohesiveness, lack of value, lack of substance, so it's talking about Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the ultimate of everything. This represents the eternity of God, the God being infinite. It's 4. So we explained was that Yud Kei Vav Kei without a Klal Yisrael means nothing. Who gave Yud Kei Vav Kei value? Who was the 5th? We were the 5th. Avram initially was number 5. He gave Yud Kei Vav Kei identity and relevance to existence. Of course it has relevance to existence. Without Yud Kei Vav Kei, there is no existence. But who brought it to the forefront of humanity? And it was a viable, recognizable entity, Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's Klal Yisrael. We're the Am Hashem. We're the 5th. Therefore, it's Yud Kei Vav Kei is 4, but Klal Yisrael is number 5. In the desert, we're 4 camps. What unified us? That's the center camp. The 5th was the Machne Shechina, which was in the center. There's a question where the Ramban asks, we find after we identify each tribe by number, we say, and each camp had so many people, and then we say all the camps together were so many thousands, 600,000, so many. I mean, what do we have to make all these mathematical calculations? Each camp was this, you add them up, it's so much, and all of the 4 camps combined are such and such. Why? So he goes to explain that this is really, it exhibits and demonstrates the love Hashem has for Klal Yisrael. He counts them individually, each tribe. And then, after he counts each tribe, how many people are there by name, each camp, how many people are in each camp, the 3 tribes together, so many. And after he adds everything up, he says, and in totality, it's something else. It's 600,000, so many. So that is a demonstration of what Hashem's love for Klal Yisrael, and he prides himself in who we are. Because we're Am Echad Ba'aretz. We're that one entity, nation, which there's nothing comparable to in existence. We, as we said, number 5, Klal Yisrael mentioned 5 times in one pasuk, Bnei Yisrael. So again, the Midrash says, why? To show the special love that Hashem has for us, because a father loves a child, he doesn't use a pronoun, but rather he always refers to his son by name. That Hashem mentions it 5 times, Bnei Yisrael, in one pasuk, is a expression of his love for us. And why 5? Because Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Because what is the basis for that love for us? Of our value is because we are the ones who accepted the Torah, which gives meaning and value, which was the objective of creation.